We all know Chris Titus's opinion on Ubuntu, and this just about sums it up.
Ubuntu's the devil.
Yeah, I had to do that, but in all fairness and seriousness, he says that's his sense of humor coming off, and that is mostly a joke. However, to be serious now, we're going to be responding to Chris Titus's text 4 reasons why I don't like Ubuntu, and his opinion, and well, I don't necessarily 100% agree with it, so we're going to do a little response video today. And I'm going to play a few clips, not the whole video, because of time constraints. I don't want this to be like an hour-long video or whatever it's going to be if I do play the whole video. But I'm going to link the video in the description. However, before we get started, I'm going to give you a chance to hit that subscribe button if you're new and ring that bell if you wish. And alright, so let's go ahead, let's dive into this video.
So here's my first reason. It's updates. I feel it almost feels reminiscent to Windows to me. It constantly is prompting me like this. Hey, update your software. I close out, I'll reboot. This will reprompt me and say, hey, there's updates available. Please update. And then also, it's a little worrisome, especially when you go into here and you have, let's go into all, you'll see this live patch. I've gotten rid of this. I've deleted it and gone into the system settings, removed it, and then it doesn't update and it reinstalls a lot of this stuff like Ubuntu Software Store on updates. I don't like these packages. I removed them for a reason, and it just feels kind of forceful. So its update cycle is reason number one.
The update cycle of a distribution is really a non-issue for me. I can change that. I mean, you have the option to change how often Ubuntu checks for updates. I believe by default it's every 6 hours. Don't quote me on that because I haven't used Ubuntu in a while. It checks for an update every 6 hours. But that can be changed to like once a day or once a week, etc. And you can schedule which day it checks. Or you can just disable the automatic updates altogether and update manually. And you can even rip the automatic updater right out of the system and uninstall it. Now, as far as Ubuntu Software Center and Live Patch is concerned, I've never had those packages reinstall on me before when running an update. I don't know exactly what's going on there. I'll have to check that out. And if that is something that they keep doing, then that'll be a point against Ubuntu's favor in my issue, because I should be able to remove a package and it stay gone. However, like direct upgrades, it may reinstall those during a direct upgrade. Don't know. But to me, the update cycle is a non-issue with me with any distribution, including Ubuntu.
So its update cycle is reason number one. Now, reason number two, why we're in here, is kind of the same thing, and it really goes into the desktop environment. GNOME, most people know, I don't really a big fan of GNOME, or GNOME as some vets call it. It feels kind of clunky, and some of this is just how it's laid out. You see these animations and those types of things. While this makes it look a little pretty, a lot of times it does make it feel clunky and a little bloated, it feels like. So I've always said this about GNOME and why it's not my favorite, but it also kind of compounds onto reasons why I don't like Ubuntu. However, you can customize this. However, if you're going to really customize GNOME and start making it look like Windows and other things, which I've done videos on how to do this, it's just not a good idea. If you're going to go ahead and really change a lot of things about how GNOME functions and a lot of the aspects of GNOME, you should probably just change your desktop environment to something that more closely resembles your preferences.
The desktop environment is a matter of personal preference. I mean, he doesn't like GNOME, and I typically don't use GNOME all the time. However, some people love GNOME, and he was talking about going in there and changing the way GNOME functions with extensions. And to me, I say do it if that's what you want. Some people love GNOME and some of the ways that it functions. However, they just don't like certain aspects of it, and they can change that out with extensions. Like, some people just love that activity center where they can just press the super or Windows key, as it's called, It comes up and they can just type in the application they want and they can just press enter to start it. Some people love that. Some people don't. It's really a matter of personal preferences and how it functions, but to me, if you want to change GNOME the way it functions, then go ahead and do it. You shouldn't have to change the desktop environment if you don't want to. Now, as far as not liking the desktop environment, there are other flavors, and he does mention that, like Ubuntu is the one he mentions specifically, or you have Lubuntu or Xubuntu. It's really a matter of personal preferences with your desktop environment. To me, that's not a big gripe with me at all, but it is with some people.
All right, so let's get into reason number 3, and that is snaps. Snaps are something that is used, and it's very easy. I've even done videos on how to use snaps and also utilizing it for, let's say, a Nextcloud server. It's really easy to set up snaps, and in the server environment, it's not as noticeable, but it still is. It's a little bit cumbersome. So like, let's say we go into terminal and we go sudo snap install Chromium. This makes it really easy to install something, but at the same time, it runs just a little bit slower. And another bad thing about snaps is its central repository is basically owned by Canonical. It's proprietary. Their back-end server source, nobody can really get to that except Canonical. So it's very reminiscent of the Microsoft Store. It's got that vendor lock-in feel to me, and that's so anti what I want to get away from. I really don't recommend snaps because of this. I always say use Flatpaks instead of snaps. But
now, as far as snaps are concerned, I'm kind of on the fence about them. On one hand, I don't like the proprietary, centralized nature and all of that stuff that Canonical's made them out to be. You really don't know what Canonical's doing with them. However, on Ubuntu, they're just so dang convenient. They come enabled by default, whereas Flatpaks do not on Ubuntu-based systems. And if you want to use Flatpak, you would have to go and install the functionality. And if you don't want snaps at all, you'd have to go and uninstall and rip the functionality right out of the operating system. And some people just don't want to do all of that. Some people love them. But, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. Some people love something and some people hate it. And I'm not just going to sit here and gripe, bitch, and moan about snaps because, really, it's a matter of personal opinion. I personally usually don't use them because of their proprietary centralized nature. But some people do. Now, I thought it was kind of interesting that he went and he did installed Chromium. And now, as far as I know, Chromium is now only available as a snap. And if you do an apt install the Chromium browser, it installs it as a snap now, which I really don't like because that feels forced on my end. So, I think they're trying to force and push snaps on Ubuntu, and if they do start doing that, my opinion about Ubuntu will most likely change. But for right now, I'm on the fence about it. So, on to the next one, I guess.
why I just don't like snaps and I don't like Ubuntu. So some of the history is also why I don't trust Canonical or Ubuntu and why I don't want to use them as a desktop environment. One, if you just Google Ubuntu Amazon spyware, at around version 14 or 15, they actually bundled in and were tracking users and turning over that information to Amazon. They did this obviously for monetary reasons, but the fact they even thought that this was going to be an okay thing gives me pause for concern. So the second big thing that kind of in their history that I really kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth was the Ubuntu One project. They tried to do like this complete cloud suite, kind of like Google does, and kind of get their feet wet into that realm and try and monetize it using proprietary software. Another reason why I don't like this, but it was discontinued in June 2014. It pretty much flopped, but I think it was on the market for several years and people were using it. But it's also something that just kind of like, it's one of those things that I don't like any of these monetization methods they've tried out in the past, and it makes me worried about their future.
Now, as far as Canonical and collecting the personal information of people and selling it to Amazon like they did in the past, that is 100% wrong. There's no doubt about it, and I will never ever change that. I'm 100% agreement with Chris on this one. You don't just collect personal data and sell it without their express consent. Now, if they would have put it in and just said, look, here's one of our ways you can support our project by allowing us to collect this information and give it to Amazon, and they give you a choice to opt in or opt out for it, that would have been okay. But they didn't do that. They just threw it in there and did it anonymously without your consent. Now, it was probably buried in some terms of service, but that's not the way you do it. You should be upfront about it. As far as Ubuntu One and making money by selling cloud services, so what? As long as you're not forcing me to use their cloud service, if you want to sell it, fine. I'm not going to tell you can't. And I'm not going to say that you shouldn't either, because at the end of the day, Canonical is a corporation, and corporations are monetarily motivated. That is just the way it is. And if they want to make money by selling some cloud service that's optional for their users, more power to them. I'm not necessarily going to knock them for using proprietary technology on that and all that kind of stuff. It's just the way corporations work, and the bottom line is I don't have to use it if I choose not to, and as long as they kept it that way, I have no issue with it. Now, Ubuntu One is no longer available. They did discontinue in 2014, like he said, because they just were not making money. It was actually costing them money, so they just discontinued it because it flopped. Bad ideas just flop. That is also a part of business as well. So, as far as Ubuntu One is concerned, I had no issue with it. They didn't force it on us, and that's the way I like it.
Future. And one final thing, and this is a Tech Rights article, and I don't like Tech Rights. I think they're very tinfoil hattish, and a lot of their sources are just very hearsay, very wishy-washy. But at the same time, I wanted to go ahead and give this third aspect of part 4 here about the proprietariness and them actually bundling in NVIDIA drivers, which is what this article is about. They're saying, hey, this is really messed up that they're making it by default. You can just install NVIDIA drivers. And they're doing this mainly just for ease of use. People just want to turn their computer on and have it work. And you can't do that with an NVIDIA graphics driver. That's why I use AMD graphics drivers here. But at the same time, I actually respect Canonical in this regard, using Ubuntu's NVIDIA proprietary drivers, because if you have an NVIDIA card, you want it to work, and you're going to download those drivers whether or not they're open source or proprietary. So this whole article I thought was kind of junk, and I was going to just kind of throw out. I wanted to go ahead and give this point of view because this is some, I want to say, very, very fringe ideas of some people saying everything has to be free and open, and that's not my beliefs. And I want to go ahead and just kind of put this to balance out this video a little bit. Them including Ubuntu's proprietary drivers is a good thing, mainly because, well, people need their graphics cards to work.
Now, I do agree with Chris 100% on proprietary drivers. Please, distros, include those drivers, or at least provide us ISOs with those drivers and firmware on them. It makes it a lot easier on the users. To me, including proprietary drivers on your ISOs is not that big of a deal. Or at least having an ISO with it. I mean, Ubuntu even gives you a chance to opt out of proprietary drivers if you want to. But a lot of hardware uses proprietary drivers. I have a laptop that uses a Wi-Fi card that uses a proprietary driver. And if I didn't install that driver, I couldn't use my Wi-Fi code. And my laptop would not have internet. And there's no open source alternative for it. So I either install that driver or I don't use that computer because I need internet on that computer. So literally, I don't see including proprietary drivers and firmware is that big of a deal. I mean, Pop! OS has done this since I think it's almost conception. They've included the NVIDIA driver on an ISO. I don't see that as a problem because people like their hardware to work out of the box. And that's the way to guarantee it is to include those proprietary closed source drivers. Now, this video was not meant to rip Chris a new one about having his opinion about Ubuntu. He's welcome to his opinion. I just happen to disagree with him on this point. But I love Chris Titus Tech in the channel. I watch it all the time. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a very knowledgeable guy. We just happen to disagree. I think Ubuntu, for what it is pretty good. And for some of the advancements we have in Linux, we have Ubuntu and Canonical to thank for it. Stuff like sudo. Ubuntu was one of the first major distros to adopt it. And now it's how we interface with the root user these days. I don't see a problem with that technology. A couple other things we have to thank Ubuntu for, and I love the PPA system. It's a good way for the vendors to be able to produce updated versions of software that your distribution currently is not maintaining or not updating or waiting till the next version to update, etc. It puts you in control of your updates, and it's amazing. And you can hold some packages back, but yeah, you can roll some packages forward or get extra options. I think that's a great way to maintain your software as far as APT goes with the PPAs. And we have Ubuntu to thank for that. So I'm not necessarily going to say Ubuntu is evil. Yes, Canonical has done bad things, but hopefully they've learned from their mistakes. But I mean, yes, snaps are proprietary, but I think they're always going to be. But those things we can't change. Now, if Canonical goes a few directions that I think they might go, Ubuntu may come off my list of recommendations. But I'm literally going to be doing a series on Ubuntu. I'm going to be taking my Manjaro Mate desktop. That's going to be going away. I'm going to be installing vanilla Ubuntu with a GNOME desktop, or GNOME, whatever you want to pronounce it. And I'm going to show people how I'd like to set it up, how to rip out the automatic updates, how to delay them if you want. How to schedule them, all that stuff, or yeah, like I said, rip them out and uninstall them. The GNOME Software Center. I'll show you Synaptech and all that stuff, and I'll show you different ways you can configure the GNOME desktop, how to make it less of a resource hog. It's always going to be a resource hog, but I can get it down to below a gig in some cases. So. And we're going to be going over all that stuff. But let me know what you think about Ubuntu in the comment sections below. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Also, consider following me on my social media links below. And if you really liked it, check out these videos that are listed on your screen. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching The Penguin Revolution.